I'm Denny. Thanks very much for coming. And I'm going to talk to you about something that I'm absolutely passionate about, which is understanding consumers, how they behave, how they think, how they feel, and really what they do in terms of shopping and buying as a result of that. It's actually going to be the customers that are doing most of the talking in this presentation. We're going to have a look at quite a bit of video about how people respond to what's put in front of them, who's put in front of them, and how that translates into buying behaviour. The benefit of this is it was shot at one of Boyd's garden centres as well last year as well. So we're going to have a look at what some of his garden centres looked like and talk about how he's done that as a result. Now you might think, really as I did at the start of this, well, how's that actually relevant for a trade show? And it really does come down to, well, people aren't that different from each other, whatever role you put them in. We're all hardwired to respond to the same sorts of things in the same sort of ways. And at the end of the day, you know, whether you're buying the plants in a garden centre or looking at a bulk order from lawnmowers, you're still going to need to kind of understand what you're buying, you need to be motivated to do it, and you're going to need something to close that sale. So we're going to have a look at how some of what we learned from those garden centres actually translate across into trade show areas. So it's going to be a reassuring mix, I think, between the quite interesting and what we call in market research the statement of the blinking obvious, but hopefully that is going to be a little bit reassuring and give you stuff that you can take forward into your exhibitions. Cheers. Will you go to the next slide, please? Cheers. And what we're having a look at throughout most of this is how, during a purchase process, you can stand out to the trade show and how you catch someone's eye and reach them amongst all the bustle of all those hundreds of exhibitors there. What's going to get them to stop in front of your stand, engage with you, and keep them there, and some of the key things there for actually closing that sale. So actually getting that lead form into the bucket, or actually getting the commitment to volume on the stand. Okay. So first, probably most important thing within this is you. You as an exhibitor, and the way that you engage with people in that. You know, people buy people. If you've got a brilliant product but you're behind the newspaper, as Boyd says, or you know, you kind of don't want to make eye contact, it's not going to work. One of the probably most powerful but accidental findings from the eye tracking research that we did is just how important people are in closing those sales. This clip is from actually the very beginning of some eye tracking research we did in a garden centre, which was what. Show of hands, does anyone know what eye tracking is before I delve into this? Yeah, so minority. Essentially, you wire someone up with some goggles, it's not at all painful, and it tracks where their eye is fixating during a conversation or during a shopping trip, and you can get insights as to what it really is that's motivating them. So you ask someone, why did you buy that? Oh, it was good value, it looked nice, it was healthy. But actually, when you really look into it, you notice that their eye is looking at the red colour. You know, there's stuff there that the shoppers themselves don't understand is influencing them. And what we're going to have a look at here is something that's pretty consistent about where people's eyes tend to go when there's someone in front of them. Can we play that?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's go show it.
Absolutely all over the face there. You know, all the backdrop, the other people there, undivided attention. You see that time and time again. And this type of research is used in all sorts of stuff, from advertising design to point of sale design to hotel reception training. If we have a look at the next slide, what we're going to have a look at is a heat map from the Dolce & Gabbana. Yeah, where in those kind of dozens and dozens of interviews do the eyes track on that? Absolutely towards the face. Yeah. Goes off to the brand, but the actual product itself on that one, secondary important. Face time, eye contact, engagement, they're all critically important to the presence on the stand. So back to what Boyd said, hiding yourselves away behind that piece of paper is probably one of the worst things that you could do there. Price. We saw probably one of the biggest opportunities across all of the eye tracking research we did in garden centres. We actually just sticking the price on there. We tracked the eyes of about 60 shoppers over 2 two different occasions, Christmas, spring, and where we saw the bulk of the lost sales was where the price on the label wasn't there or it hadn't been put there. You know, brilliant displays, colour blocking fantastic, they're engaging with the product, no price there, they walk off, and this happened time and again. You can just have a look at that as to what that looks and feels like from the shopper's point of view. Oops, we can go back and play that, please. Is that all right? And she's off. This happens time and again. The principle is exactly the same with the trade show. If you don't have the price list there, if you're not able to talk about the volume discounts in a meaningful way, the chances are your buyers are going to walk. So again, it's really common sense stuff there to be able to talk about the price, be able to move those discussions forwards. And again, these some photos I'm going to illustrate it. We have it sounds a little bit sinister actually. We have a photographer going around our national plant show, getting the photographs of the publicity and examples of how people engage. And one of the themes about that was actual conversations there, showing the catalogues, talking through the prices, closing the sales. So again, really basic stuff. Junk and distractions. One of the things that pains Boyd every single time I show this is the distractions of what actually tracks the eye away from what should have, in this case, been focus, which was a really beautifully merchandised benches. I'm going to throw a quiz in after this one. I'm going to ask you guys what you notice in this clip. So if we can play this. Click on that. Anyone notice anything in there particularly standing out? Go on. Absolutely. Anyone else? Yeah.
Health and safety for your host, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Remember staff and getting contact.
Definitely. Yeah. So all sorts of stuff going on there. People notice very consistently throughout this entire thing the yellow hose pipe. And yellow for a reason, obviously, but it was taking away attention from the stuff that was made to be sold. Now, the most effective point of sale that we saw in that actually didn't get looked at in that clip because it was right behind the yellow hose that was acting as a barrier to get there. So anything that draws the eye away from the product, a real no-no. There's also health and safety for obvious reasons, so trailing electric cords, stuff that could get in the way. Again, things to think about in terms of stand design. But also things like detritus on the stand as well, so used coffee cups, newspapers on the side, etc. Those will draw attention away from displays, products, away from you as well. So again, it's the little things like that that possibly haven't been thought about that can have a huge impact on engagement with sales. Okay. On the plus side though, there's huge opportunity on the stands to do something different, to do something unusual, and to actually get people engaged with your product. What we're going to have a look here is something really, really simple in terms of herbs and displays. And we're going to have a look and feel for the level of excitement that you get when we've got someone who's, we interviewed her after, she's a garden centre veteran, she goes around these places quite a lot. But let's have a look at the response she gets in this display. Sorry about the wind, by the way, windy day.
Yeah, I'm coming. Oh, we've got toast in our bag. Now, what a good idea. I like that.
Okay, great. So again, just something really simple, and yet people are people. If they're walking past something that looks unusual, it's going to stop them in their track. It's going to be a way into a conversation. Oh, why have you planted the toaster up? Why is that upside down off the ceiling? Anything like that that can get people inspired and talking is that way into to a lot of sales. This is a real favourite I've got from this year's plant show. It's themed around pollinators, the colours are there in the bees, it's quirky, it's unusual, it just draws people in for that conversation about what's unique about what's on show there, the perfect for pollinators. And all it needs is a bit of imagination, creativity to actually draw people into the stand and get those conversations going. So again, a hugely powerful technique. Touch. Has anyone been really worried or annoyed when people come up to the stand and start fiddling with something that they're not supposed to? Good. Because one of the key findings for this was that, in common with a lot of other research, touch actually encouraged purchase. There's a lot of research and state surveying going on from academics called Peck and Childers, which have been looking at the impact of actual touching grocery categories on purchase. And they consistently find that the more people touch things, the more likely they are to purchase. In this research, we put that to the test in garden centres, and we ran an experiment. We had one day where there's no signage up encouraging people to touch stuff. The other day, we put signage up encouraging them to touch and smell the herbs. And subsequently, we ran some store tests over a few weeks to see if there's any measurable uplift in sales for the places we put the labelling and the signage. Now, there's two elements to this. One is the qualitative, how do people respond when they're encouraged to touch things, and two is the numbers. Let's have a look at the difference it made to how they feel about the herbs.
Yes. Touch and smell the herbs. Oh, look. Oh, what's that? What's that? This is mint. No. This is mint. Oh, it's lovely. I can eat that. What's that?
you saw there's an awful lot going on there in a fairly short space of time. So it's the weigh-in, the touch, the conversations that starts, then they're into the toaster. Again, it's the quirky, it starts asking the questions, and then they're into the special offer pricing on there. So again, reach, stop, close, it's working in action. You see a lot of ingredients coming together there quite powerfully. Again, that invitation to engage, to touch things, something quirky, and then the information to close. I mean, just a quick show of hands, who's got a product that would easily be touched on display? Yeah, most people. So again, real opportunities there. What physical barriers are there in the way of someone actually having a feel of what it touches like? What's the sensation? You can take this too far. I was at a show a few years ago, actually, and one of the growing media manufacturers had got this water expanded. The guy on there was so passionate about this, and I was there in my suit. I was quite nervous. I was going to present, and he fills it up. The water expands. It's brilliant. He says, "Go on, have a feel." You can take it too far, but seriously, it is really, really powerful tool for getting people to engage with it. Does it work in terms of sales? Well, we go on to the next slide, please. Where there's no signage, those herbs reach the shopper's field of vision 8 times, and one of them engaged without stopping and looking at signage or not. That was it. When we put signage up, we next. No, sorry, previous one. Sorry. Now we saw a much greater level of engagement with the signage. When we ran the store test, sales have actually gone up between 5 and 10% in terms of value as far as we can measure that. So again, it seems to be bearing out that body of research. If we get people to engage with our products, real opportunities there. Okay. Again, another example from a plant show, our guy. Quite sure, I think that's an acer, but he's quite earnestly kind of seeing what the leaves feel like. And it's just human nature. We like to engage with things. So what does that mean in terms of opportunities for exhibitors? And as I was saying before, it's a mixture of the blinking obvious, but hopefully the stuff that can be really easily and effectively applied across stands. So tip 1, what can we do about demo samples, to touch, to hold, to feel, to talk about? How can we use those to get the conversations going? So, stroke me, smell me, get it away into that conversation. Okay. Price lists, as Boyd was saying before, absolutely crucial to be able to have those conversations. Okay. No barriers to the stand as well. So again, if there's hose pipes or placards or tables at the front of the stand. Again, it's something else for people to get past, to have those conversations with you and to engage with those products. Okay. Eye-catching displays, that's an easy thing to stand up here and say you do eye-catching displays. But people sell, products sell, colour contrast sell, as we saw with that bursting example. There are some very, very easy ways of getting people's eyes to come into display and start those conversations. So again, the more quirky, probably the better. And in terms of detritus, it's probably a pragmatic one, but probably one of my most painful experiences at a trade show was when I was 21 years old and I was put onto the stand in front of a load of IT technicians and teachers. And the sales director said no one drinks on the stand. And it was horrendous, actually. You're there 8 hours without a drink of water. It was really hard going. But when he went around and looked at the competitors' stands, they were full of kind of half-spent Costa cups and Starbucks, so you could see why he was doing it. It's probably a happy medium, which actually just have a bin there to put the stuff in. So again, really simple stuff that can massively add to the professionalism of the stand, but also keep your staff going through the day as well. And I think probably the last one, actually the most important one, is probably you guys the most effective advocates of your products. It is something you feel passionate about, great products, they say people buy people first. Smile, be yourselves, engage, and thank you very much for your time.